Welcome to Realizing Resilience, a podcast from the Connecticut Women's Consortium. We're not behavioral health professionals, but we're your gateway to real conversations with the experts. Each episode, we'll delve into the vast landscape of mental health, from personal stories to expert insights. Together, we'll bridge the gap between clinical expertise and personal experiences, connecting with diverse voices and perspectives. Join us for insightful conversations that demystify the world of mental health.
All right, everyone, and welcome back. I am Marisa.
I'm Alana.
And I'm Linda Lentini.
And I have the absolute pleasure to introduce and talk to Linda Lentini today. She has a training with us at the Connecticut Women's Consortium. It's coming up on December 14th and 15th. And she's currently the Director of Healing from Within at Toivo and Advocacy Unlimited in Hartford, Connecticut. Toivo means hope in the Finnish language. And it's a peer-run nonprofit initiative that includes statewide classes, workshops, and a center for holistic healing and stress management. Donation-based offerings include yoga, meditation, qigong, sound healing, laughter yoga, drumming, creative expression, healing arts, and much, much more. Linda is a certified level 4 breath, body, mind instructor, a certified Louise Hay trainer, and is trained in aromatherapy and Stephanie Covington's Women in Trauma curriculum. One of her goals in life is to continue sharing Louise Hay's belief about learning to love ourselves, can heal our mind, body, and spirit. So thank you, Linda, for talking with us today.
Thank you for inviting me here.
To start off, do you want to just talk a little bit about what the breath, body, mind practice is?
Sure. I kind of stumbled into breath, body, mind about a decade ago. And breath, body, mind is a sequence of practices, modern and ancient practices that are put together. They're evidence-based the way that they're sequenced. They're put together so we start to balance our nervous system. Some of the practices are relaxing practices. Some practices are about raising our energy, but most are about balancing our nervous system. We spend a majority of our time kind of in what do I need to do next, almost fight, flight, or freeze. And this is practices that you can do at any time during the day. They really balance. So you show up for life focused yet relaxed. And I think that as you know, the Women's Consortium teaches a lot about trauma. Many people that have spent a great deal of their life in fight, flight, or freeze because of prior trauma, trying to find techniques like myself, find techniques that are safe, make me feel safe in my body, and are easy to learn and do are really beneficial. Breath, body, mind, it doesn't require you to follow a guru for the rest of your life. It doesn't require you to sign up for these massive classes that cost you thousands of dollars a year. Once you learn the practices, you can do them on your own for the rest of your life. So the practices are gentle movements, like Qigong movements, and coherent breathing, which is the core part of the practice. And coherent breathing is where we're really slowing our breath down to about 5 breaths per minute. And that's where the magic happens, where the balance happens. So we don't have too much energy. We don't have too little. We have just enough to get through our day. When people first learn these practices, sometimes they're like, I fall asleep every single time I do it. Well, you know, your body needs sleep, and it's really important that we listen to our bodies. And these practices allow us to start listening to our bodies. So with every movement, with every practice, we stop and we listen to our body. We listen to what our body says, not what the instructor tells us what our body should say, but what our body says. So I've spent many, many years looking at different mind-body practices and going, well, I like this, I don't like this. How much does this cost? Why do I have to pay so much? All of these practices, like I said, once you learn them, you really can do them for the rest of your life without having to worry about paying somebody to learn how to keep doing them. They're just, you learn them and you can keep going. So the practices are very simple. They're safe for pretty much everyone. We give some precautions for some of the practices. If somebody is dealing with a respiratory issue, they're recovering from COVID, if they're pregnant, then we give some precautions on how to do it in a way that would be safe for that person. All of the movements can be adapted if you have shoulder issues, if you can't move, one part of your arm. We've worked with people that have like missing limbs and they still can do the practices, or people that cannot move at all and you can still do the practices. You can do them standing up or sitting down, and it's really about being safe for everyone and accessible for everyone. So many of the practices, and I know that one of the reasons I stayed away from yoga for years is because my body didn't necessarily move the same way as the yoga instructor. And I felt intimidated if I couldn't do a headstand. Well, with breath, body, mind, you don't have to feel that way because you can modify them based on what your body feels comfortable doing that day. Can you tell I really enjoy BBM?
No, it's so interesting. And I think so much of it's almost like a secret that's hidden behind a paywall or that you have to have a monthly subscription to. And really, it's not about the guidance, it's about internalizing the practice. So that's amazing.
Yeah. And these healing practices should not be secrets. They should be accessible for everyone, regardless of how much they make or if they, have the ability to go to a yoga studio. That's why Toivo was put into place many years ago, is we want the doors to be open to everyone. So you can walk in and do any of the practices, regardless of having a yoga mat, if you know how to do yoga, if you know how to do Qigong, if you know how to do a breath practice. If you've never been taught a breath practice, there's people that are born and raised, and I was one of them, that never knew anything about yoga or breath practices, that you can use your body to learn how to heal. Well, there's some people that have never learned this. So you could walk into Toivo or you could attend a breath, body, mind class, never knowing anything, and we can teach you. And then you learn and you can do it on your own. So it's really about finding ways to share these practices with as many people as possible.
I feel relaxed just listening to you talk about it. Incredibly soothing voice. That was fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you.
You were talking about kind of referencing like you're growing up, you didn't know anything about this. Does anything in your own personal life or personal journey kind of informed how you wanted to do this work or why you wanted to do this work?
So the reason that I started doing breath, body, mind is Darren Drum, who used to be the executive director for Toivo. We started a program called Healing from Within. So SAMHSA contracted with us so we could bring what Toivo offers into inpatient psychiatric settings. So I was tasked with finding some practices that people on inpatient psychiatric settings would want to do and that staff would feel comfortable having me do. So there's a lot of evidence to support that this is good and this is not good. Well, I needed to find evidence that practices were safe for pretty much anyone, including people that hear voices, including people that see things that not everyone sees. So when I started doing Healing from Within, I was introduced to a wide variety of different practices, but the one that stuck with me was breath, body, mind. So I went to train with Dr. Brown and Dr. Gerberg, who are the two founders, and I listened to what they had to say, and I started doing the practices myself. And this is me coming in with a wealth of knowledge of Louise Hay, of Wayne Dyer, of yoga, of all these different practices myself, saying, well, what's different about this? I know breath practices. I didn't know them in my childhood, but when I started working at Toivo, I started to learn them. What makes this any different? And then I started doing them myself, and I realized they are a lot different. And it was when I started recognizing that I responded to things differently than what I normally did. And if you had heard my voice 10 years ago, you would not say it was calm and relaxing, because it really did. I needed to relax my nervous system. I needed to get out of the fight, flight, or freeze. I'm a trauma survivor. I started having issues when I was 4 years old with a family member. And then, I grew up and, many other things happened. It wasn't my healing journey, just went into different directions. And when I started doing Healing from Within or learning about breath, body, mind, it was with the mindset of, I need to learn this to help others. And it wasn't until I started realizing that I actually was starting to help myself. And really, that is how I can help others. I can help my family members if I don't respond to things in a way that I used to. I can help the people that I go and support on the inpatient units by being calm and relaxed, regardless of what happens. But how do I do that? Well, I started doing breath, body, mind, and I do breath, body, mind, the practices religiously every single day. Even if I say, well, I had such a great day, I don't need to do it, I still need to do it, because my nervous system will still start to feel like I need to be, I don't want to say high strung, but just like, I have to get things done and I don't want to be that way. I want to be nice and calm. I want to be soothing. I want to be relaxing. I was a fierce advocate before I started doing healing from within. I was a fierce advocate that sometimes I had to advocate, and I made people feel really bad when I advocated. And I don't want to do that anymore. I still want to be a strong woman that can speak my mind and say what I feel like I need to communicate, but in a way that I'm not hurting somebody else when I say it. And in a way that when I walk away, that person feels less stressed and not more stressed. So there is a way to do it. And I'm still perfecting it because I still screw up sometimes and say the wrong things or respond in ways that, I don't want to respond anymore. But I'm in my 50s. I've spent many years doing something a certain way. It's going to take me a while to undo what I've learned how to do. We form habits, ways that we respond. So this is a way of undoing some of the habits that have been ingrained in my brain, but it's going to take a while to do that.
I think it's great that you could admit that even though you're an instructor or you're someone that's so passionate about that you still make mistakes and that you still have faults, even though you're a trainer, you are still a person. And I think that's really great for people who are still learning to see and to understand.
Yeah, we had a discussion about that recently, about how it's important that every day I learn. I'm not the be all end all. I don't have all the answers. I don't want anyone to ever say that I do have all the answers, because I don't. I can try to learn today to be better than, a way I responded yesterday, and not with shaming myself or shaming anyone else. I want to do things differently, because for me, it's about learning what works right today versus what worked right yesterday. So really trying to be humble. Humility goes a long way.
I really admire, I come to this from teaching too, so it's just interesting talking to trainers, and it's kind of a different world, but it's also not, where often I feel like you get into savior mode and you don't think about it being sort of a learning relationship that you're also a part of. And I think that humility is so important to ensure anything gets done and any progress is made.
I don't ever want to be anyone's savior, because
we
can only be our own savior. So when we start to change things in our lives, we're the ones saving ourselves or changing ourselves. No one else gets that credit. Should never give that credit to anyone else. You're the one that did those changes. You're the one that, made some difficult decisions sometimes. So don't ever give that credit away to anyone else.
I love that. How was it that you came into your role at Toivo?
I've been working at Advocacy Unlimited, which is the company that kind of supports Toivo. So Advocacy Unlimited's been around for over 25 years as an advocacy agency supporting people on rights and responsibility in the mental health and addiction field. So Advocacy Unlimited was a sole nonprofit, and then it kind of branched off. It was under Dr. Karen Kangas, and then Darren Drum joined, and he wanted more than just advocacy. He wanted ways for people to support their own healing journey without necessarily having to be dependent on the mental health system, addiction system, on any system. But how do you do that without having any of the skills? So Toivo was put into place that way. So Advocacy Unlimited started alone, then it built up into Recovery University, Join Rise B, the Bridger program, Toivo. So Toivo is one of them under Advocacy Unlimited. And Darren's hope was to have as many people walk through the door as possible so they could learn practices where they can empower themselves to heal themselves, or to create the life that they want to create. So it doesn't have to be that you sit and do meditation every day, but figure out the life you want to. So if stress is taking a toll on your body, mind, and spirit, find ways to deal with stress. If breathing's not it, then it could be laughter, it could be drumming, it could be walking meditation. Whatever it is, find a way that you can make sure that stress doesn't have an impact on your life. What can you bring into your life? And I do the practices every day, but I didn't start off doing that because I'm busy. We all are. I had to build it in a little bit. So 5 minutes here, and built up to 10 minutes to 15 minutes. And really, I could spend less time on Facebook, spend less time on TikTok. I could spend less time on any of those social media sites and do something for myself. A lot of us were brought up believing that, taking care of myself is selfish. No, it's not. It's really a good thing to take care of yourself, because then you show up in your own life, you know, in a different situation and feeling better about yourself and others. So I started at Advocacy Unlimited, doing Recovery University, went into Toivo, and then we were given the grant to do Healing from Within. And I really wanted to make sure that people on inpatient units had the ability to learn some of the practices that we do at Toivo. So I was really passionate about that. And I met a lot of different people who found the evidence to support that practices can be done with anybody. We just need to make sure that we modify them depending on what's going on with that person.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm sure you've probably trialed a bunch of different, whether yoga or meditation or whatever it is. What's your go-to de-stressing, relaxation, good headspace activity to do?
I guess I have a couple. I've really been into nature lately. 2 years ago, I went to see the Grand Canyon, Colorado to Arizona. This year, I went skydiving, just nature. So if I can do anything, it would be going in the woods with my dog and just walking and being able to smell everything around me, see everything around me. We're in New England, so we get to see those bright, brilliant colors outside, and to do some coherent breathing. I mean, breath, body, mind is my go-to. If I feel stressed, I'll lay down and do 20 minutes of breathing, and then I feel better. If I can combine the two together and lay down outside, that would be wonderful. I really think nature can bring us a lot, and we all have that ability to walk outside. Sometimes it's a smaller space, sometimes it's a bigger space, but being able to walk outside and use our 5 senses outside can ground us in ways that nothing else can. And my dog just loves it when we go walking in the woods. Dogs are amazing. Animals are amazing.
Absolutely. Walk for you, walk for the dog.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like having those self-regulation skills must have been beneficial when skydiving.
Yeah. I won't do that again, but my son and his friend wanted to try it, and the mom and me was like, I have to go on the plane with them, of course. I won't do that again, but it's nice to be able to experience things and go, well, I like this, I don't like this. And I'm really grateful that I have that ability, because not everyone that wants to do things can do it. So it was nice, but yeah, I won't do that again.
So you've got trainings upcoming with us. So you'll be here for Breath, Body, Mind Fundamentals on the 14th and the 15th of December. When you do those trainings, just what are you hoping that your participants walk away with, and what can people expect?
So people can expect 2 days of practices, and we'll have conversations about the practices. We'll also talk about how people feel differently after each practice. So what does it uncover? Dr. Brown talks about how we want to take layers of stress off slowly. We don't want to take a whole bunch really quickly, because it could stir up a lot inside of somebody. So we're going to take layers off slowly by doing rounds of practice. We'll stop, we'll talk. Another round of practice, we'll stop, we'll talk. We'll also show the science behind it. So Dr. Brown is the Qigong person, meditation. He's been doing it since he was 9. Dr. Gerberg is a researcher. As we all know, there has to be evidence behind practices for anyone to really believe them. So she had to spend the last 20 years finding the evidence behind the practices. So you'll see a video of Dr. Gerberg actually coming and talking about how these practices work. What is the difference in our nervous system? And then we'll have some Q&A on that. We'll do some more practices. At the end of the 2 days, I want people to compare when they first start and when they end the 2 days on the difference in themselves. In December, we're going to be in the middle of the holiday season. We all tend to be really, I have to do this, I have to do this. And sometimes we show up in our lives really stressed out. Maybe after these 2 days, people will show up in their lives less stressed. Maybe they'll walk away with a technique that goes, I can do this. I can do coherent breathing for 5 minutes a day, every day, and I will notice a difference. Maybe people will say, these are really simple practices and I want to keep going, and I want to be an instructor, a teacher. I want to bring this to the people that I work with, the people that I support. There's so many possibilities if you show up. And one of the biggest things about it is taking care of yourself. Here's time for you. Here's time for you to step away from everything. learn some practices, do some practices for 2 days, and get CEUs to do the practices. This is an opportunity for you to take care of you. And not a lot of times we tend to make that a priority. In December, it should be a priority for you. Take care of you in December. Get ready for the holidays by taking care of you. Give yourself that gift.
Yeah, that's kind of perfect timing, actually.
Yeah, exactly. The holidays could be your gift to yourself.
Thank you so much, Linda, for talking about this with us. I'm genuinely excited for the Breath, Body, Mind Fundamentals training. I think it's going to be great for a lot of people, and I'm excited to see all the things that you can teach us.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really happy that I was here to talk to both of you and share Breath, Body, Mind, because I'm very passionate about it and I really do love it.
If you're looking to learn more about Linda's work with Breath, Body, Mind and with Toivo, check out the link in the description and to sign up for her training, as well as see what else we've got going on at the Connecticut Women's Consortium. There'll be a link in the description for that as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.